The Covert Utility First Aid, or CUF Pouch, is unique in the sense that it was really well designed. And we know it was well designed because we designed it. And it took us a lot of time to get this thing right. We spent a lot of hours wearing, rucking, hiking, hunting, competing, doing our day-to-day stuff to make sure that this kit would be comfortable enough and functional enough to carry every single day. It improves on some of the other kits that we've used in the past. This is certainly not a new concept, but we have reinvented some of the ideas to make it more functional as a utility and first aid pouch. The way that the cuff is specifically set up is to be utilized as both a utility pouch and as a first aid pouch. So while I've got mine set up here in a first aid or trauma setup, I'm going to talk about how each section is laid out and what they kind of be used for. So this pouch on the end is actually built into the Velcro tab. That way we make use, as I said, of every available inch on this pouch. And so this little guy right here holds the utility tape. It can also hold your money. It can hold your ID cards. It can hold your debit, credit cards, whatever it is you might be using from a low pro use or just maybe a travel perspective where you're trying to keep things safe while you're on the move. This section here is designed for a tourniquet specifically. However, it's also great to be able to store your extra magazine. It's fully adjustable, so you can raise or lower this. I've got it with a SOF-T Wide in here currently, but it's also works perfectly with the cat, which in previous ankle kits that we've used hasn't really been an option just because of the bulk and size of the cat, but this one was made for that capability because the height and the width can be adjusted. The contoured strap for the shears helps to keep those shears in place, but also keep them readily and quickly available. In our general purpose pouch here, I have currently vacuum sealed contents for my Stop the Bleed and Start the Breathe kit. However, this is a general purpose pouch, so it also fits your cuffs. It fits any extra comms equipment or again, any E&E or other daily supplies you might need to carry. When we teamed up with Apex and came to them with our idea of what we wanted to exist in an ankle kit, and then they of course came back to us with their amazing design ideas. The whole purpose of the kit was to create something that could be not just first aid centric, though this is how I have mine set up, but something that you could also utilize for utility, undercover work, E&E work, or any other daily use items that you will just want to keep covert, potentially hidden, and off of the belt line. Now, these are all the items that we chose specifically to fit in our kit. It doesn't mean you can't change something in this kit to fit your needs better, which no one kit was ever made for everybody, so you should absolutely always get a trauma kit or first aid kit or anything and make sure that you customize it for yourself. So the first thing we're going to start with is 3 strips of pre-cut 15-inch multi-purpose utility tape. Now, why would you want utility tape in a trauma kit? Because this is what holds everything together. After I've done a bandage, after I've even done a tourniquet, anytime I need to hold something together, tape is the answer. And that old white medical tape, that clear medical tape, it's not going to do the job out there in the dirt and the blood and the hair and the sweat. So next in the cuff is going to be the tourniquet. Now we prefer the SOF-T Wide from TacMed Solutions, and the reason we do is because it folds flatter and it's a little bit easier to carry against the ankle. However, based on your use, your application of single hand use, which the SOF-T Wide doesn't do as good of a job as the cat, or the SOPs at your agency or organization, you might have to wear the cat. Now the cat or the SOF-T, if you get it from us, is going to be available in black or orange, but it will fit either kit or either tourniquet. As I already said, the pouch itself is fully adjustable to be used for any of these. So next in the cuff are the X shears. Now we chose the X shears because they are incredibly durable. They are incredibly hard use tools, and you need durable, hard use tools when you're looking at a set of shears. You might need to cut off clothes, seat belts, safety equipment, multiple layers of clothes, heavy clothes, work site clothes. Some of the training that we do occurs in industrial environments where people have to wear very thick, heavy, even Kevlar-based protective equipment, and the X shears, they slice right through all of that. And the reason, of course, we went with the little mini guys is because not only does it fit in the cuff well, but these are TSA approved. Because of the work we do, we're on airplanes multiple times a month, and no one has ever said no to these. So next up, we've got a 4-inch elastic bandage. Now the elastic bandage is like the Leatherman multi-tool of a first aid kit or a trauma kit specifically. There's so much that you can do with it. This, of course, is in theory going to be used for pressure dressing over something like wound packing, but again, you can use it for 1,000 different things. Ours is a little bit unique because it's got Velcro on both sides at both ends. Now it's slightly shorter than your average elastic bandage or trauma dressing just to make sure it can be nice and compact, but it will absolutely be enough to get the job done. All right, now we've got compressed gauze. Now compressed gauze is advantageous over rolled gauze, not just because of the compact size that it comes in, but also because of how you're going to be handling it. With rolled gauze, of course, it can unroll, but with compressed gauze, it's nice because as I'm pulling the gauze apart, if I drop it, I'm not losing the entire roll rolling down across the ground, getting stuck on things. It's easier for me to feed this oftentimes into, a wound packing situation or another critical care situation, easier to control the gauze itself. We also like to have some hemostatic gauze. Now, while we don't believe that hemostatic gauze is absolutely necessary in a trauma kit, we do find it to be incredibly useful, and here's why. Number one, it actually does help the clot to form faster when I'm dealing with any kind of traumatic bleed, which of course is advantageous. But even more advantageous is when you're dealing with specific circumstances, such as anybody on blood thinners or heparinized blood, or any kind of hypothermic blood conditions where additional support or additional help is going to be needed in order to get that bleeding controlled effectively. That's where a good hemostatic comes in. You don't have to have a ton of it. Even just a 4x4 used as the power ball going into the wound pack itself will absolutely get the job started. We've got a 2-pack of the Hyphen Compact Vent chest seals. Now, these are really great because, of course, they're nice and compact, but they also do allow for venting of any buildup of fluids inside the thoracic cavity. And don't forget, these are also occlusive dressings, right? So to occlude, to close, they're great for closing up open wounds on the arm, waterproofing wounds, things like that. So anytime we can get multiple purposes out of an item, we definitely want that when we're dealing with a small kit. I'm not always a big fan of putting boo-boo supplies with a trauma kit because I really like to separate those things. But because this is something that we're considering for everyday carry, we like to carry some really basic supplies. And honestly, this all started with my kids. So now we like to make sure we have a few extra little things with us, a couple of Band-Aids, some first aid, burn cream, and a couple of alcohol prep wipes. Accessing the cuff is easy. The way it's laid out, make sure that there's no snag points, no grab points, nothing that's going to hold on to my pants while I'm trying to pull the cuff or expose the cuff to get access to it. All these tools, easy to pull out administratively. Now, these kits that are going to have all my Stop the Bleed, Start to Breathe, they are available either vacuum sealed all together or individually packaged based on your specific needs or SOPs. And again, every single tool here can be accessed without having to completely remove the cuff.